Hello again, my chess friends. This is a game between me as Bags, as white, and my opponent as black. His name is Rayman. This is a game that I guess I could call this game a kind of positional and never give up game. Um, you have to continue to fight. Don't don't let your guard down at all, and look for the best moves. So maybe we should call this file the best move game. Okay, so let us begin. I go d4, c5. He takes on c5. I take on c5. d6. C takes d6. E takes d6. Knight c3. He goes knight c6. I go e4, freeing up my position in the center, and getting ready to develop either my knight, push my pawn on f to f4, f3. I have both bishops that are shooting down like archers, and so it all depends. Well, you'll get to see what I do. He goes bishop to e6. I go e3. Now I'm getting ready to bring my rook out, not my rook, my knight, or my bishop. And I could even bring my queen out. We'll have to see. He goes knight to f6. I go f3. Now I'm getting developed. I'm getting better space, and I'm gonna take over the game. He goes g6, getting ready to fianchetto his bishop to g7. I go d3, protecting the pawn, getting ready to castle. He goes g7, I castle, he castles, kingside, we both castle kingside. I go d3, I'm getting ready. If I want to, I can send my bishop all the way to h6, trade off his bishop, and then I take my queen, then I bring my knight to g5, and I threaten checkmate. Okay. He goes g4. I go bishop to g5. He goes queen b6. I push out his knight with h3. He goes back to g5, ge5. I take, he takes, and then I am getting ready to trade off his stuff. But he takes my bishop, my pawn at b2. Doesn't bother me one bit. I go rook a b1, attacking his queen. He takes. Yes, I lose a knight, but my whole plan was to bring my rook down to b7. So I'll show you how it all plays out. You're thinking, oh no, I'm down a knight. Yeah, but you'll get to see what happens later on in the game. He goes knight takes d3. I take with my pawn. He takes, and then I start doubling up. I send my king rook from f1 to b1. Now they're doubled up and they're ready. And if he moves his queen up to he's going to take the pawn because he's going to get greedy, and I'll show you what I do. I know he's going to take it, so I bring my rook from b1 to b4. I'm going to swing it over to h4, threaten checkmate. He can't push his f pawn anywhere because if you notice, my rook is threatening his king. There's no way to get out. So he goes down for a check, inferior one. He takes. Now I bring over. His only move is to take with the queen. So he fights on. Queen takes. I take with the queen. He goes f to c8. I bring my queen in. Now I can trade a rook for rook takes a7, and then he'll take with his rook, and then I'll have a very good plan, a superior position. He goes d5 again. Like I said, rook takes a7. This is time for destruction. He takes. I take with the queen. He goes c2. Rook to c2. He's trying to stop my pawn onslaught. I go a4. He goes d4. I push a5. That's an okay move, but I did some calculation. Queen takes d4 would have actually been a better move, because then if he tried anything like getting his rook behind my pawn, like to a2, I could always play a check first, then I can push my rook, my pawn, my a pawn, and it'll end up becoming a queen, or I'll get a piece for it, so it'll just be a very superior advantage. What I did was okay too, but not the best. He went d3. I brought my queen to d4, so that if he moves his rook to a2, I'll take the pawn, and I'll be up a queen, and it'll be really, really good. He goes d2. I push. He goes rook a2. There we go. Then I now play queen takes d2. All his counterplay is gone. All I need to do is get his king in check, fork his rook, and I'm not going to be able to fork his bishop, because if you notice, his bishop is protected by the f7 pawn. But if I can get the rook, I can win the entire game, and I'll show you how I end up winning the rook. But he resigns before I take the rook. But that I would have won it. I'll show you as I continue on. He goes rook to a2. It's protected by the bishop. I go, don't think so. I check, go all the way down to d8, check. Then I go d4. I'm attacking. He goes king to h6. Sorry about that. Now that I was doing some calculation, it would have been really interesting. I play h4, but I just want to go back for just a second. What would have been interesting if I would have played maybe queen to h8, then swung it over to f8. That would bring his king out more into the center, but I think that was a better idea, because my plan was to threaten checkmate by playing queen to f6, and then it's not really a threat, but I can bring her down and check, and then open the position up, and I would be able to slowly take his rook. And he made a mistake in about 3 moves. I'll show you. He goes rook c2. I go remember the plan, check. He goes up. That was his mistake, because now I play check. He has to move, because if he goes down, you're 100% right. If his king moves to h5, do you see the checkmate? Correct. You're 100% right. Actually, it wouldn't be a checkmate. You would. It would just put him in a very bad position. And now that I look at it, he could take with the bishop. You'd probably have to. It would be okay either way. I thought about that. So it might have been better for him to actually have went to h5, because he could always bring his bishop to f5 and or his rook. But he makes a very poor decision with that, and he lines up his king for my queen to actually check along the diagonal. So if you notice, his king and his knight, I forked both of them, and with that, he resigns, because he sees that he's going to lose a piece. And basically, I'll end up pushing up the pawns, and I'll get a queen, or I'll checkmate him later on in the game. So rather than going through all that, he decides to throw in the towel, and that's how the game between me and Ray concludes. And I hope you liked it as much as I enjoyed showing it to you. And always, God bless, and I'll see you next time on Chess Cruncher.